So my presentation will be about scaling decentralized applications. And before I begin, I would like to briefly introduce myself. Already mentioned, I'm the co-founder of the Bulgarian Bitcoin Association, but I've been in the space since 2013. I got into the space through Bitcoin. I'm also the founder of bithope.org, which is a crypto charity foundation. I'm also the co-founder of the largest monthly event in Sofia, Bulgaria, dedicated to blockchain technology, which is called Sofia Crypto Meetup. And I've been the marketing lead or the marketing guy at Aeternity since the very, very start of the project, when we were about 5 people in the project, so months before the campaign. And these are going to be the contents of my presentations. I will do some parallels with the internet and the blockchain hype that we are experiencing. I'll talk about the issues that decentralized applications and decentralized public blockchains are facing. And then I'm going to do an introduction to the primary technology behind Aeternity, and generally what Aeternity is all about and how it's solving the issues of decentralized applications. So the dot-com bubble, I was too busy chatting with strangers in the internet relay chat when this was happening. I was about 15 years old. But as far as I've researched the topic, there were so many different projects, actually about 400 or 500 different projects. At one point, the market capitalization of the dot-com bubble of all these projects was $3 trillion. So not even close, or actually the blockchain sphere hasn't even reached $1 trillion so far. So we are much lower in terms of valuation in comparison to the dot-com bubble. And then we had 3 types of companies that came out of it. We had the failures, which were the majority. We had the relative successes, which are still around, and the big winners, like for example, eBay and Amazon, who are still, who basically managed to change the way that we are looking at or transacting online or doing international commerce. And I think something very similar is happening with blockchain currently. Back then, the hyped word was internet. Now it's blockchain, or last year it was kind of blockchain. And there is a parallel that could be done between the dot-com bubble and the so-called token bubble. And this is what happened last year. $5.6 billion of value were sent to these decentralized applications and decentralized platforms. And if you have been following the scene, the blockchain scene last year, you could just feel the excitement. Like Bitcoin was reaching all-time highs. Projects were raising obscene amounts of money. And I think this could be really explained or presented as some sort of a irrational exuberance that we were witnessing last year, and I think it's going to continue in this year as well. And I think this irrational exuberance is really following technologies when they first appear, when they first start to enter the mainstream. And this quote is actually taken from a person who was commenting on the railways industry when it was first appearing in the States. And it's very similar, I'm pretty sure it was very similar when it comes to cars, and it was definitely it was definitely the same when it comes to the internet. It was the same irrational exuberance. And the truth is that most of these projects that appeared last year will continue to get funded, maybe even this year, will probably not succeed, as in the case of, for example, the internet and the dot-com bubble. And I would go as far as to say that 95% of these projects will not produce something that is commercially useful. Nonetheless, I think this is basically a natural cycle. And some people call it a Gartner cycle or a hype cycle. I call it a cleansing cycle. And the blockchain sphere, ever since I entered it in 2013, and even before that, it was going through these periodic cleansing cycles. When the hype is going up, everybody is happy. There are numerous projects that get started. And then when people realize the technology is maybe not ready for mainstream, you go down the slope, and most of these projects simply disappear or become irrelevant. And actually, even from the failures, we get very valuable information, and valuable information about why is this not working, or Why didn't this, for example, project, why didn't it work? What were the problems there? Also, infrastructure. I don't know if you know the previous kind of hype cycle we had in blockchain. Basically, it was about people copying the open source code of a certain coin, let's say Bitcoin, just changing a little things inside of it and introducing it as a new coin. And we had so many new coins appearing. And because of those new coins, which most of them, they don't exist today, we got many different exchanges. And these exchanges were actually at the center of the fueling of the next cycle, which saw last year with the ICO bubble, so to say. And also we had network effects. People get used to using cryptocurrency, get used to blockchain technology. And I think the failures provide valuable information, but the successes are not yet maybe visible. I would say Bitcoin could be considered a success yet still. And they would change the world, as, for example, Bitcoin has already changed people's perceptions about what money is, for example. But there are, of course, numerous issues on the way to commercial success or scaling of decentralized applications. And you can see there is a one there. This means that there is a second slide, because the issues couldn't be fitted into a single slide, and this is not an exhaustive list. So the first one, which I have identified, is intermediaries. Blockchain is supposed to remove intermediaries out of the way to make processes more efficient, but the fact is that these intermediaries are holding the bone very tightly, and they will not let it go easily. And they are very much entangled currently in the economy, in the state and society. So people are kind of used to them, and they prefer to use, for example, maybe a slower service, a more expensive service, but then a very well-known service. And this is related to the generation gap, and I call it generation gap. Perhaps it's not the best description, but it's the fact that people are afraid of change, and they don't switch using a service very easily, a service that they have been using for years. And I think these two problems will kind of solve themselves in time with the new generations which are appearing. And then we go to scaling and performance, and this is the major one. Everybody in the blockchain sphere who is building decentralized applications, and especially and also public blockchain platforms, is facing issues with scaling and performance, and is trying to solve those issues. And public blockchains currently, they don't scale very well, I would say. And from this issue, many other issues get created. And one of them is actually usability. These systems really look like back-end systems. Like decentralized applications currently look like back-end systems for geeks. And there are not that many decentralized applications that a normal or a general user can use at this point. And this is also related to mobile support. How many different decentralized applications are you using currently on your mobile device, apart from the most popular one, which is the wallet, or any kind of wallet. And mobile support is very, very important because people are communicating with the internet or entering the internet primarily through mobile devices today. And the number of mobile devices has been increasing in the past years. Especially in the case of developing countries, where most of the people are using mobile devices to basically to enter the internet. And mobile means fast, it means familiar, it means well-looking, it means working. And decentralized applications are definitely not there yet. And then we go to the next big issue, which is smart contract security. And this is a big one because most of the decentralized applications that exist are based on smart contracts, the so-called smart contracts. And we had issues in the past related to the DAO hack, which was, I think, in 2016, and the parity hacks last year, 2 parity hacks, and one of them actually affected us, Aeternity, directly. So I personally don't believe that a smart contract language which is based on it was created for use for internet applications, for internet services, is very suitable for managing value or money or all kinds of assets. I think there is something more stable that is needed when it comes to decentralized smart contracts. And then we go to price volatility. Why would you spend your tokens today if they cost more tomorrow? Why would you use a service today if you'll be able to get more of that service tomorrow? And this is also, again, related to variable cost to use. If you're using a decentralized application and you need to do, for example, a transaction, this might cost $1 today, but tomorrow when the network is more loaded, so you couldn't take the load, you might pay, for example, $5 to use the application. And users are used to, the things that they know how they will function, more or less. They're used to pay the same amount each day. And finally, it's access to real-world data. You might have the most secure smart contract available out there, but if that smart contract gets information from the real world that triggers it to do some automation, let's say, you don't need to, and it uses just a single source of information or a few sources of information. You don't need to attack the smart contract, which is super secure. You just need to attack these sources of information and manipulate them so that they provide a wrong signal to the smart contract and it does something that it was not supposed to do. And I guess all these issues sounds like a lot. And as I said, this is not an exhaustive list of issues. I'm pretty sure there are more issues like that that you can come up with. But actually, this is what Amazon.com looked like when it first appeared. And this is what Netscape, the browser, looked like when it appeared in the early 2000s. And this is Facebook in 2004. So what I think is that when it comes to disruptive technology, which is just barely entering the mainstream, it kind of, and especially the internet, they share more or less the same issues, the blockchain and the internet. And I'm pretty sure that the internet didn't manage to solve its issues for 20 years, and decentralized applications, decentralized platforms will be able to solve these issues in less than 10. So history doesn't really repeat itself, but it kind of rhymes. And with all that said, let me introduce you to Aeternity. And Aeternity is an open source blockchain 3.0 platform. And 3.0 basically means that it's created from the very beginning to scale, to be able to perform a large amount of computations and transactions per second, let's say. And it's solving all these issues, scalability, efficiency, real-world data, usability, smart contract security, and governance, which I didn't include in my previous list. And Aeternity is based in Liechtenstein, and we have been in contact with regulators from the very, very start. Actually, we just launched a co-working space there, which is supposed to help startups or people who are entrepreneurs who are creating decentralized applications by providing guidance and support from the team of Aeternity and other industry experts. And the great thing about Liechtenstein is that you have very, very quick and direct contact with the regulators there. And we are actually one of the first projects maybe the first project that entered Liechtenstein, and we managed to establish together, so to say, with the regulators, a framework, or we helped the regulators establish a framework of dealing with decentralized applications, distributed platforms, or blockchain platforms. And the technology that we use is some of the technology that we use, and I want to stress on the Erlang language, which we are basing our core technology on Erlang. And Erlang is a functional language which has been developed more than 3 decades ago by Ericsson, and it's used in telecommunications. And its whole purpose is to provide very high scalability, stability, high uptime, and security. And actually concurrence. And concurrence means that basically processes could run in parallel, not one after the other, but in parallel. And we believe that this type of language is very suitable for writing blockchains on it. And when it comes to Erlang, we managed to get on our team really Erlang superstars, some of the people who have been behind the Erlang community for years and also have supported the Erlang community by writing codes or creating libraries. And generally, our team is composed of cryptocurrency veterans and blockchain enthusiasts as myself, people who have been in the sphere for a number of years. And actually, the programming experience that we have in the team is written actually as 100 years, but it might be more than 200 years in total, actually. And how are we achieving stability or scalability of decentralized applications? We are implementing this new technology called state channels. And if you know what, for example, the Lightning Network is in Bitcoin, state channels is something like an update to that, because it's not only about transactions which happen off-chain, but it's also smart contracts running off-chain. So we are moving the load on the system from the main chain to the off-chain state. And actually, we're also including or introducing some improvements on the on-chain by introducing something called Bitcoin NG for on-chain scalability. So the whole idea is to improve the on-chain scalability and allow for off-chain scalability. And this is achieved by Bitcoin NG and state channels. And when it comes to getting information from the real world, we have integrated into the blockchain the so-called oracles. And these are just simply sources of information. So anyone on our blockchain or on Aeternity could become an oracle provider with a simple on-chain transaction. And any user of the system could ask an oracle provider for a question. For example, what happened to prices of rice on this date in the past? And having our oracles integrated introduces a lot of efficiencies in other public blockchain systems. Currently, you need to, use third parties to provide oracle services. In our case, you just need to use the AE token or the EA currency to use oracles. And then we have a naming system, and this is also integrated into the core protocol. You don't have to use or manage public addresses, which are just numbers and letters, strings of numbers and letters. You can associate those with names. So oracles can have names. Any property, any account on the block on Aeternity could have a specific name. And this, of course, increases usability and provides utility to users. And then we go to the consensus mechanism. And in order to keep our public blockchain as decentralized as possible, we have introduced an ASIC-resistant mining algorithm, which is called Cuckoo Cycle, and we are actually directly supporting its developer. It's actually his father, John Trump. And what is interesting about Cuckoo Cycle is that it's the most memory bound. So in order to increase the efficiency of mining, you basically need to improve RAM itself, so computer memory itself. This is the only way to increase the efficiency. And the idea here is to prevent the creation of ASICs, so these devices that are more efficient than GPUs. We would like to keep mining on Aeternity at GPU level. And then we have proof of stake. And Aeternity is a hybrid system. It has proof of work and proof of stake, but proof of stake is not used for mining. It's only used for the governance, which means that anyone who has AE tokens or AE currency is able to pose a question to the community or participate in voting, in various types of voting. And we have a formal type of voting, which changes fundamental system variables, for example, the amount of AE tokens or currency which gets created by each block. And informal voting, basically anyone can use an app and pose a question to the community, and then people vote with their balances. So the higher your balance of tokens is, the more important your vote is. And this is the system that we're using to stimulate an effective discussion and really get feedback from the community. So we can ask the community questions. They can also ask anyone else questions using their AE tokens. And maybe not finally, a couple of more slides to the technological overview of Aeternity, smart contracts. So our approach to smart contracts, I would say it's kind of unique. We have this goal of creating safe, efficient, and scalable smart contracts, which are also cheap. And we also want to provide existing smart contract developers the ability to quickly create smart contracts on Aeternity. And we cannot provide a single solution to this, so that's why we have introduced 3 types of smart contracts. And the first one is called Sophia, and it has its own virtual machine, the FTWVM. And this is the smart contract that people can use, the users can use to create really secure, safe applications that are really, really tough, so to say, and robust. They basically don't fail. And the Varna one is created for more efficiency and for scale. So for everyday applications that anyone can use and should or could use or can be using on a basically daily basis. And when it comes to the cost of using smart contracts, we cannot really control that because this is based on governance, on the governance mechanism that I just spoke about. But for the Varna contract, we are introducing a flat fee. So you are certain, you have certainty about how much you're going to pay if you're using the Varna type of smart contracts. In addition to all that, we are also supporting Solidity with a slightly modified Ethereum virtual machine, a safer Ethereum virtual machine. So any precompiled Solidity contract can also run on Aeternity. And very importantly, we want to bring decentralized application to mobile devices. So we have this mobile-first approach. Upon mainnet launch, we will have a couple of applications which will be running on mobile devices and can take the blockchain, so to say, to the user wherever he is. What's an app? Actually, apps on our system are called apps. I mean, I'm not sure if there is a difference in the pronunciation, but they have this AE in the front. And we want to make them decentralized, encrypted, user-friendly, scalable, and familiar to the user. And having said that, let me quickly show you some applications that we are developing and which will be available upon mainnet launch. And these are the base app, the proof of existence app, transfer app, and voting app. And the first one is the base app. And this is the app that's going to be at the very, very center of the Aeternity apps ecosystem. It is the app that we authorize all other apps to basically function. And you can see this is the user interface. When you start installing it, you have this very familiar user interface which allows you to create different accounts. And you can have basically unlimited amounts or numbers of accounts in the base app, and you can use a unique account for each of the apps, each of the other apps which you are using. And no matter which app you are using at any given moment, you can see the active account at the very bottom of your mobile device. And so through AirSign, we provide very high level of security. You are also able to have your private key stored on an offline device, but still manage your accounts through the active or the live mobile device. And so actually the base app is the wallet, or people know this app as a wallet, but it's much, much more than simply a wallet. Nonetheless, it has this usual process of providing you with 12 words, writing the words down, and entering a password. And when you open the base app, you'll be able to browse through all of the different available apps that are currently available in the store. You can search apps by name, and you can installed apps you can remove, of course, and you can manage your accounts. And then we go to the proof of existence app, and this is an app that that allows users to basically create a hash of a digital file and store this hash in a blockchain very quickly through their mobile device. And the example here is with, for example, a car, some imperfection in a car. So when you're renting a car, for example, you can take photos of the car when you're renting it, and then if something happens, you can prove with very high levels of certainty by providing the photo and then the hash of the photo, which was uploaded to the blockchain. You can prove that this photo was generated at a specific time, and it is what it is. It hasn't been changed in any way. So this is a very small app, but it kind of addresses or kind of reminds of this decentralized insurance use case. You can not only digitalize or create hashes of photos, but you can do this with digital files, any digital file that exists on your device. And then we have the transfer app, which basically allows you to transfer tokens, AE currency from different accounts. And this will be supplemented by the transfer app, which allows you to get AE tokens from different types of cryptocurrencies. And finally, I have the voting app, and this is what I already spoke about. It's just a way of getting some feedback from the community or allowing the community to express opinions on different subjects by voting with their account balance. You can see the account balance at the bottom. It's always available there. Anyone with AE tokens can create a question, and anyone with tokens can answer that question, and the amount of tokens he has will be the weight of his reply. So basically, it's very easy to create questions, and then it's very easy to answer them even on a mobile device. And this is actually my presentation. We just launched a forum, which we want to use to really focus discussions related to technology, to our ambassador program, to our incubator. So if you have questions which you think of later, you can always go to the forum and submit them there, or use some of our forums or social media accounts. Or the other way of asking questions is actually directing them towards me now. I'm available for questions.
Thank you so much for your wonderful presentation. Are there now already questions, maybe?
Are there your microphone? I'm not sure it's working.
It's not working. It's working, yeah. I said thank you for your wonderful presentations. Are there now already questions here? I see here a question. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Fernando. I have a question. Will you be able to use the apps for your own purposes, or is it strictly for the Aeternity ecosystem?
So we have two types of apps, fundamental apps that are going to be available when the mainnet launches at the end of June, or by the end of June. And we are going to allow to anyone to build apps. And we are really devoting much time to developing kits which could help application developers to create their own apps. So the idea of the ecosystem is to allow anyone to create whatever they want, and we also provide some design help. So all the elements which our applications are composed of are also available, so that when you're creating an app, it will kind of look like and follow the design pattern of the other apps. So you have a single, so to say, experience or very recognizable features of the Aeternity apps. So definitely, we're not creating these applications for ourselves, or only the core team is creating applications. This is for anyone to use. It's a public blockchain, it's open source. Anyone should be able to use it.
So you're standardizing the process of creating the apps?
Excuse me?
So you're standardizing the process of creating the app?
Yes, we are providing also help. We have good documentations, and we'll provide support for anyone who is willing to create apps. And actually, apart from that, we are launching an incubator, which will also look for interesting teams, entrepreneurs, which are willing to create decentralized applications. And we're going to provide them with, of course, support and also some funding, so that they can develop applications on top of Aeternity.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm sorry, I saw some other questions, but we
They're in the
have to
back.
go over to the next speaker
Okay.
because of time. But
Yes,
you are
I
here,
was-
right? So if there are
I
any
am here.
questions, people can come to you.
Absolutely.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.